Now to Brazil, as Phil was talking about. In less than 2 weeks, Brazilians head to the polls for the second round runoff in the presidential election. Incumbent President Dilma Rousseff faces Social Democrat Aecio Neves. CCTV's Stephen Gibbs looks at the two candidates and their positions on some key issues.
It has been a tight campaign so far, and much of it has focused on the characters of the leading candidates, their ability to govern and lead the world's seventh biggest economy. But what about their policies? Where do they differ? The biggest challenge for the next leader of Brazil is how to kickstart this country's vast but sluggish economy. It is currently technically in recession. Dilma Rousseff denies that she has mishandled the economy. She says that the current slowdown is largely the result of external factors, and that despite everything, she has managed to keep the unemployment rate here at an historic low. Aecio Neves, who's favoured by Brazil's business community, says fixing the economy will be his priority, reducing inflation, allowing Brazil's currency to float freely, and working to minimise state interference. Security is another major issue in Brazil. Dilma Rousseff has used the success of the World Cup security arrangements as evidence that better integration of the country's diverse and sometimes competing police, military and intelligence agencies is possible. Aecio Neves says the government's strategy on crime has failed. He's highlighted the problem of prison overcrowding. He says he will involve the private sector in building new prisons. Tackling poverty and inequality is another battleground between the two candidates. One of the key campaign platforms of Dilma Rousseff is that her Workers' Party government has lifted around 40 million people out of poverty over the last decade through innovative welfare programs. Neves says he will keep those popular programs in place, but he's indicated they need to evolve and should be more carefully focused to reach the last millions in this country who still live in deprivation. The low overall standard of education is another issue. Dilma Rousseff says she will invest most of the revenue from newly discovered oil fields directly into education. Neves says the government has failed in its pledges on education and points to his success as governor of Minas Gerais state in improving standards. He plans to bring in compulsory education for all children aged 4 to 17, currently it's just from ages 6 to 14, and performance-related pay for teachers. Perhaps the most contentious issue of all is corruption. Mass protests last year were in part aimed at what people see as a thieving political class. Dilma Rousseff says she has taken action against members of her own party who have been proven guilty. But Neves says the problem goes deeper. He's pointed to an ongoing corruption scandal at the state oil firm Petrobras as evidence that the president is incapable of tackling white-collar crime. He says he will change the law to make it easier to prosecute directors and officials.
The candidates represent the two political parties which have been competing for power here over the last 25 years. Both have very different visions of how to confront the challenges this country faces. Stephen Gibbs, CCTV, Rio de Janeiro.